noticed the commotion and fled, but was injured in the back. It was around that time that Kotaro Umeda, a 38-year-old man from Hyogo Prefecture sitting in seat 20D, stepped in and tried to intervene. According to Hikari Hishinuma, a 29-year-old also in the number 12 carriage, she turned around when she heard screaming behind her to see a man lying on his back in the aisle with another man, face expressionless, on top of him, stabbing him repeatedly in the chest. The man on the ground was Umeda, his clothes soaked in blood, and Hishinuma said he looked like he had lost the strength to continue resisting. Panic seized the train. Hishinuma told the Mainichi Shimbun, which is just a newspaper, that she tried to flee to the number 11 carriage, one car up from where they were, but the aisle was already slick with blood and she was blocked by other passengers, so she got nowhere. I was trying so hard to get away, said Hishinuma. I don't think Umeda had an escape route either. Umeda's the one who got stabbed. Another woman in car 12 said she heard a commotion behind her, saw a wave of people running toward the number 11 carriage, and joined the exodus without even seeing what was going on. If I had been sitting just a little farther back in the car, I could have been attacked too. The woman in her 60s from Suita, Osaka Prefecture, said with tears in her eyes. A male passenger who had been in one of the cars closer to the front of the train told the Mainichi, suddenly a whole bunch of people came running from the rear carriages. It was just panic in there. A 44-year-old from Hyogo Prefecture who was in the number 9 carriage, so that's like 3 cars up from the one where the stabbings actually happened, which is number 12. He said that just after the attack, he thought the sudden commotion had perhaps been caused by a celebrity event. But everyone was on edge, and some people were crying, so I thought something terrible had happened. Another man told the Mainichi, a lot of people came into the number 2 carriage, I guess from carriage number 12, and when I asked what was going on, they said, someone's been stabbed. Somebody on the Nozomi hit the onboard alarm at about 9:47 p.m., and the train made an emergency stop at JR Odawara Station. The suspect was apprehended by police, apparently without resistance, and an announcement let the passengers know that the assailant had been caught. I saw 2 people who I think were victims being carried off the train, hidden by blue plastic sheets, said the 44-year-old Hyogo Prefecture man. Still, it took quite a long time for the passengers to calm down. Meanwhile, a witness at Odawara Station told the Mainichi that he saw a man he thinks was the suspect coming off the train shortly after 10 p.m. He was, quote, handcuffed and surrounded by police officers, and looked like he wasn't resisting at all as the police took him away. The man added, the suspect is wearing glasses and brown trousers that were covered in blood. The man said he subsequently saw 3 people being carried away on stretchers. Okay. Gonna take that out. Kojima found work at a machinery repair company after finishing his training, and left the facility and worked in Saitama and Aichi prefectures, but quit the company citing his relationships with other people. From around April 2016, he began living with his uncle and grandmother, who's now aged 82, in Okazaki, but they said that he confined himself to a room on the second floor and spent a lot of time online. Kojima's discord with his parents continued, and in October last year, he was adopted by his grandmother. In January this year, he said he was going on a journey and left on his bicycle without telling his uncle or grandmother where he was going. His grandmother was able to contact him on his cell phone, but he did not reveal where he was. Kojima's uncle was shocked at the news of the stabbing. Quote, "He had never harmed other people. I can't believe he's responsible for a crime like this," the uncle said. His grandmother, appearing tired, added, "He was a gentle, quiet child. He often looked down on himself and was worried about personal relationships." Kojima's real father, who's 52, said that he last saw his son 2 or 3 years ago. "Since he went into the facility, we hardly talked." I guess that's the facility that he went to finish high school. "I want to see how he atones for this irreversible act," his father said. And now on to his sentencing and trial. An indefinite prison term sentence was given to a 24-year-old man over a fatal random knife attack aboard a Shinkansen in 2018, which was finalized Tuesday. This was January 2020. After the ruling was not appealed, the Odawara branch of the Yokohama District Court ruled last month that Ichiro Kojima murdered passenger Kotaro Umeda, 38, with a machete and a knife, and severely wounded 2 women in their 20s on a bullet train en route from Tokyo Station to Shinosaka Station on June 9th, 2018. So his trial ended up being about a year and a half after the actual crimes, or after the actual event where he stabbed everyone on the train. The deadline to appeal the ruling was on Monday. Kojima, who admitted to the charges, said he committed the attack with the hope of spending the rest of his life behind bars. Prosecutors, while acknowledging Kojima's selfish desire to spend his life in prison, sought an indefinite prison term for what they call a brutal random killing. His defense team had called for a more lenient sentence, saying he might repent if given the chance. Kojima told the court that he had tried to limit the number of fatalities to no more than 2, as he thought that killing 3 people would result in the death penalty. Kojima first attacked the women with the machete and knife. He then killed Umeda by slashing his neck and thigh when Umeda tried to intervene, like I said when I was reading the first article. So there's some quotes where Kojima told the police that he purchased the knife, or machete, that he used back in March, which was a couple months before the crime, since I think that happened in June. So, instead of really just being a random crime, it was them being treated as premeditated, even though Kojima didn't know any of the victims prior to attacking them. More disturbing still, though, is that he also stated that if he's released from prison, he will commit a crime again. And even though he didn't explicitly say what crime he was planning on committing, it's pretty much assumed that he would just kill more people, since the stabbings on the Shinkansen were that's when he was actually sentenced to life imprisonment. And, you know, despite having said that that's what he wanted and that's what his goal was, they did end up giving him what he wanted, basically. Which, I feel like, if it was in America, they probably would have sentenced him to death. Just out of, like, pettiness or something, you know? Like, oh, you want life in jail? Well, we're not giving you that. That kind of thing. And another quote from Mr. Umeda, who's the guy who actually got killed. His wife commented through an attorney saying, "The sadness of suddenly losing my family cannot be healed. I just hope that such a sad incident will not occur." I guess she meant not occur again. I was a little confused when I read that about whether the sad event would be him going to jail for life, or, like, as opposed to getting the death penalty. One of my neighbors has, like, a Lamborghini or something. And I don't live in, like, a bougie neighborhood. It's just some guy with a Lamborghini that always comes by. And I guess 1:37 in the morning is a really good time to ride around in your Lamborghini or something. So before I started this video, he came by. It's been like, what, 20 minutes? 30 minutes maybe since they left and I started filming. Now they're back. And he's just gonna sit out there with the engine running, because, you know, it's not like gas costs $5 or anything for your super fuel efficient Lamborghini, I'm sure. With like a V12 engine, I'm sure that gets great mileage. Anyway, I hope it's not too annoying. So, Umeda, the victim who actually died, his wife said what I said already, and in Japanese that's "Totsuzen kazoku wo ubawareta kanashimi ga ieru koto wa arimasen. Kono yona kanashii jiken ga okoinai ga okinai o negao nomi desu." Which again was, "The sadness of suddenly losing my family cannot be healed. I just hope that such a sad incident will not occur." Since this is kind of short, I actually have another case, which is another train one, that I was going to read as well. So, this one is a little bit more recent, because that other one happened in, what, like 2018? So this other case rather, happened in 2021, just over the summer. And as I was researching, like, these cases, like, I found the one, because it was recent, and then looking at that one, I found the one that I just read, which is, like, slightly older, and looking at that one, I found an older one, and looking at that one, I found an older one, and so it looks like, as much as, not to sound crass or anything, but as much as mass shootings are popular in America, stabbing people on a train is really popular in Japan. You know, for the same kinds of reasons, like, oh, I hate my life, no girls like me, because I'll go stab some people on a train, that kind of thing. So, it's pretty disturbing, considering that, like, thousands, if not tens or even hundreds of thousands of people ride the train in Japan every single day. And, like, in the article that I just read, they were saying that, like, in response to that whole thing, obviously they beefed up security and stuff, but people, like, so many people get on and off the trains, and there's so many doors, and there's so many stops, that it's basically impossible to actually check people's bags or, like, prevent people from getting on the train and stabbing others, because it would just back things up so much in the stations that it's just not, you know, realistic to do something like that. I mean, they, like, installed cameras and had security guards after that incident, but, you know, what's that gonna do, right? Make sure you have a video of what happened the next time someone came and stabbed a bunch of people. So, that brings us to Friday, August 6th, 2021. The Otakyu Odawara Line rapid express train departed from Fujisawa Station in Kanagawa Prefecture, bound for Shinjuku Station in Tokyo. But it wouldn't make it all the way there, because around 8:30 p.m., between Seijo Gakuen-mai Station and Shoshikawa Okuda Station, 10 people were assaulted and stabbed throughout 3 of the train's cars within a span of only a few minutes. According to the Otakyu Electric Railway, 4 security cameras were installed on each train car, and the video footage from those cameras shows that the suspect suddenly stabbed a seated woman in the chest with a knife and repeatedly slashed her back as she tried to escape. Passengers reportedly rushed to the lead car, hitting the driver's window and telling him to stop the train, but as they were doing that, the man made his way through that first car they started out in, and then 2 more, punching and stabbing anyone he came into contact with along the way. In the 3rd car, at the end of his rampage, he sprayed the floor with salad oil, which he tried to set on fire with a cigarette lighter, but it didn't work, because salad oil is flammable. So, obviously he wanted to set the train car on fire, which actually happened during another attack on I think it was on a Shinkansen train, which is different than this train. Because the Shinkansen is, like the bullet trains that are really famous, which is like, I guess, an Acela train here. And this train, I guess, might have been more like just a regular commuter train, I don't know. So, the train had stopped on the tracks in between those 2 stations that I said, in the Setagaya ward of Tokyo, so they're in the middle of the city, basically. So the perpetrator fled by pulling the doorcock lever that opens the train doors in an emergency. And so he just got out of the train and ran away at that point. At the time of the incident, several hundred passengers were on the train, and they could be seen in videos taken by bystanders escaping from the train, where it just sat on the tracks, running along the platform to exit while alerting commuters at the station to the situation. My man is still just sitting out there running his engine. Like, bruh, can you not? This guy's like 50 or something. He's not even like 20. Okay, I think he finally left. Good riddance. Anyway, one of the train's passengers, a 19-year-old, that was a weird noise. One of the train's passengers, a 19-year-old university student who witnessed the incident, said there were a lot of people with blood on their clothes and running away in panic. The suspect left behind an almost 8-inch long butcher knife, a pair of scissors, and a cell phone inside the train. He also left a tote bag containing a change of clothes at the scene, making the police believe that the crime was planned and not just a spur of the moment kind of thing. So of course there was a manhunt for this guy. But hours later, a worker at a convenience store in the neighboring Tsukinami ward alerted police after a male customer entered and confessed to the crime, saying, "I am the suspect in the incident reported by the news. I'm tired of fleeing." So the main victim of the crime was a 20-year-old female college student who was the first one that he stabbed, I think I said. And she had 7 stab wounds to her back and other parts of her body. None of the victims were in life-threatening condition, police reported. So the man who came to the convenience store and confessed to the crime was 36-year-old Yusuke Tsushima, and he told the police because she looked like a winner in life, which would explain why her injuries were so much worse than any of the other people he attacked. Another article that I read, however, said that other than the 20-year-old woman, the remaining 8 victims were all men, for a total of 9 victims instead of 10. So, I don't know what that's about, but Tsushima told the investigators, quote, "I could not prepare kerosene and so used cooking oil instead." He bought the cooking oil and 2 lighters at a supermarket near Yomiuri Land Station on the Odakyu line close to his home, just before he got on the train, which was recorded on security cameras that were in the grocery store as well. Tsushima could have been in financial difficulty since he'd started to receive welfare benefits a few months before the attack, and he had even received a payment for his living expenses a few days before the attack occurred. So that was also something they looked at as a motivating factor, though I think the things that he said to the police were pretty damning, so they didn't really need to look for any other motivation, right? On the same day as the stabbing spree on the train, Tsushima shoplifted some food at a commercial facility in Tokyo and was questioned there by the police. The police charged him so far with attempted murder for the 20-year-old woman, and it's in the article he was also charged with other charges. So I'd imagine that would just be assault charges for each of the other passengers. So on August 8th, 2021, Tsushima was sent to the prosecutor, and he was quoted as saying, "I was content seeing people rushing to escape, but even so, not a single passenger was killed, and that's unfortunate." On August 10th, 2021, he also told the police that he'd considered, before he did the train attack, he'd considered bombing the famous Shibuya crossing in Tokyo, saying that he wanted to kill happy-looking people, and that it would cause a lot of devastation, since there are a lot of happy people at Shibuya crossing. So, that's it for that case. As far as I could find, he hasn't been tried yet, and like I said, the only charge that he's been charged with so far is attempted murder for that 20-year-old woman who he stabbed a bunch. I couldn't find anything about her condition, so I'm hoping that means she's fully recovered and she's fine. That would be the best thing, obviously. And like the article said, none of the other passengers that he attacked were seriously injured, so they probably just got away with shallow cuts and bruises. That's what I would imagine anyway. What do you guys think about these 2 cases? For me, obviously it's just very unfortunate, and these 2 guys were total assholes. It is honestly surprising that the guy in the first case, Kojima, what was his first name? Ichiro, I think, that he was only 22 years old, and he already just gave up on life, and was just like, yeah, I'll just go live in jail forever. That's easier than trying to have a job or a life or anything like that. I guess people say this a lot when it comes to these types of mass random public attacks, but obviously the way that they were and their motivations and everything does have to reflect a little bit on the whole mental health situation, especially in Japan, where there's still a lot of stigma around mental illness and around seeking help for stuff like that. And obviously there's only so much that could help these guys, since they just decided the best thing for them to do was go out and kill people. Someone like that really is kind of a little too far gone, maybe. I don't know. But of course you have to wonder, if mental health services were better, would they have ended up doing what they did? Or if they had, I don't know, there was nothing about the second guy's family or friends or anything. But the first guy, Kojima, he had his family around him and stuff. He had his uncle and his grandmother that he lived with. So, maybe saved his life. But who's to say, really? So anyway, sorry I didn't have more information on these two. Like I've said before, I just have to rely on like translated articles, since I can't read enough Japanese to actually be able to read the original ones. So it makes these cases like a little bit more bare bones, I guess, which kind of sucks, but also, you know, I can't do anything about that. So I hope you enjoyed these two cases, and if you did, I'd really appreciate it if you left me a like or a comment or subscribed. And thanks so much to everyone who has subscribed. I think I'm almost up to 200 subscribers now, which is really cool, honestly. So thank you so much for that. And sorry about my camera dying, but I was literally right at the end of this case, the second case, so I think I recorded for like 10 minutes, and then when the battery died, it didn't save the recording, so yeah, just sucks. Anyway, I hope you found this video relaxing, and I hope you have a good day or a good night, whichever one it is. I'll see you in my next video. Also, I'm planning on doing, for the people who like to hear when I speak Japanese, I'm planning on doing, like Japanese words